Hello and welcome to the Art Lounge. I am Randall Mackey and I am here with Andrew Bosley. Eric is out with a little bit of a health issue, so we'll keep him in our thoughts, but it's Andrew and I here today. How's it going, Andrew?
Good. How's it going, Randall?
It's going. I'm going to be drawing a planet in space for a website header for some personal stuff. So.
Sweet.
That's what I'm going to be working on today. How was your week?
It was good. Been busy. Just got still recovering, I think, from my San Francisco trip to GDC. So trying to get back in the swing of things.
How was GDC?
It was really good. I really enjoyed it. It was a bit overwhelming.
This is
most of the time.
This is your first time, correct?
It's my first time. I went off of. I was inspired by your thoughts a couple episodes ago. I think it was right after we were talking about finding freelance work in games, and I was like, all right, I'd like to try to give this a try and see if I can meet more people, new friends, find new clients, and it was good. I was didn't know where I was going. Felt like a chicken with my head cut off, but
yeah,
it was good. And I think I did. I'm not as socially. I'm not a good networker, good mingler, and chatting up things and stuff. I'm I'm kind of a recluse by default, so it got me out of my comfort zone a little bit.
Well, that's good. That's probably healthy. Yeah,
it is. Yeah. So met some good people, caught up with some old friends. It was great. There were multiple people I just ran into. I mean, I remember I had arrived, flew in, picked up an Uber and got myself to the convention, the conference, and I step out. I actually dropped off at my hotel, dropped some stuff off, walked to the conference, and just as I'm arriving, and just as I'm like calling my wife to go, hey, I'm in, everything's good, I'm safe, and right when I'm on the phone, I just see one of my old friends from Red Storm, and so I was like, hey, Marin, I need to get off real quick and go chat with people because this is why I'm here, and it was really neat. So, and that just happened over and over again. I saw guys from Ubisoft, lots of people from Ubisoft that I wasn't expecting, people who are my Ubisoft days, and a lot of the guys that have moved on to different places. But then I was also seeing just old friends from college that I haven't seen in, gosh, now 10 years. So I got a chance to catch up with them and go out to lunch with several people, and
that's pretty much the way GDC always goes. I feel like the first year, I knew nobody. I'd just gotten out of the Army, and I went and I didn't know anybody. But then the next year, I knew people that I'd ran into people that I met, and then 5 years later, I was still meeting the same people and running into people, and it's kind of funny, like just how small it is. And just even talking to other people that went this year when I didn't go, and talking to one of my friends, and she ran into somebody who worked for a company that was started by one of my uncle's best friends, and I know this guy, and she met him. So it's always a testament to how small the industry really is out there. Everyone knows everybody, and yeah,
it sure doesn't feel that way when you're there. When you're, it does as you're meeting people. But if you were to just look from the top of a building at this thing, it's just swarms of people. There's just so many people that it just feels like, how could you find anybody or whatever? But yeah, you're constantly running into people, and catching up, and you're reminded of that. But it sure doesn't feel like that. At least when I first arrived, besides meeting some people, just the sheer numbers of people was just overwhelming. But yeah, it's I thought it was a great thing. I don't know if I did it fantastic. I think it was worth the trip for sure. I mean, just in pure practical things, I have to think about practical things, and I was there to meet people and hang out, but I was also hoping to maybe find some job opportunities, and I did, and nothing crazy amazing right off the bat, but I think it's all about the long game, or just getting to know more people and hanging out, and that was what I benefit from it. I'm planning to go back next year. I don't know if I'll do anything majorly different. I sure would love to go see those seminars, but I don't know if I can afford a $1,500 or $2,000 pass to get in. But
yeah, that's a little pricey. There's been years where, I mean, this year I looked at it, and if I was going to consider possibly doing the full pass, because last year there was a lot of good talks that were geared towards concept artists. But this year I didn't see very many on the list, at least. So,
well, this year was like, I'm sure I know I'm really behind the times on this, but it was clearly all about VR, and I guess it's probably because I don't think that it makes a significant impact on my work, and concept I don't think has changed much by this side of technology, by what's being delivered to the customer. And so it doesn't change how I create. So I've kind of just ignored it and neglected it, but that was clearly what it was about this time at GEC. They were just everybody, every game, almost every game company had, some sort of VR experience that they wanted you to try out. And I mean, I met a guy, I'm very looking forward to the relationship, getting to work with and know this guy and his company. But it was a smaller company. I mean, pretty darn small. But he was already pitching VR stuff to Oculus Rift and other people, and was working on it had been greenlit to do something. I was like, I would never have thought, looking at this guy's past stuff, that he was, his next project would be something in virtual reality, and so everybody's doing it. It's just crazy. So it was cool. I
think it's interesting to talk about VR for a minute, because I think it can change the way in the future that we do what we do. I've seen quite a few. There's only a handful, but there are a few people that are doing some cool 360 VR concept art, and so it's one of the things I want to look into how to make, because it's actually pretty cool how they're doing it. But there's a couple that are shared on like ArtStation and stuff, but basically, they're basically creating a 360 skybox, and then they're painting the unwrap of that is what it looks like. And so then when you stand in it and you look at it in VR, it's literally a painted concept art, but you can see 360. And then on the web version, you can actually, click and zoom around and see the 360 environment, which is an interesting thought.
So is it more than just? I mean, is it real concept art, or is it?
Oh yeah, it's definitely it's definitely concept. I mean, it's like it's the high level kind of photo bashy,
Okay.
Call of Duty sci-fi level concept art, but it's actually it is true concept paintings that are busted out and then rewrapped around this 360. So with a center point. So I don't know how you go about the process of creating that. because I don't know how to paint skyboxes. But yeah, it's pretty cool to think about that painting instead of just painting this canvas in front of you, you're now thinking about everything that's going on around you, and so it gives you this full view of the world. And I think that we could see more of that as the industry shifts towards more immersive. We're already building 3D worlds and doing 2D concept art to build them, so I don't know that it'll change the game that much, but it is a cool thought.
No, I'll have to take a look at that. I mean, I've like I said, I've let it kind of pass me by, and I don't know. I'll be the skeptical guy here. There's a part of me that feels like it's kind of like 3D for film, and many people loved it. I've had great I've seen some cool 3D experiences, at the movie theater, but it's not more important than than just the film and the storytelling itself. And so I most of the time I could care less. I don't have any desire to spend the extra money or wait to try to find wait in line or whatever it may be. And I've seen some really successful versions of that, and then I've seen some examples that were just like what we've grown up. 3D movies have been around for a long time, but in the past they've been fairly gimmicky.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's part of me, and this is just me being I don't know what the right word is, but skeptic, but I'm sure it's going to be fantastic. I mean, who wouldn't want a more immersive experience? I'm sure, but I've kind of been a little skeptical about it, I guess, as far as how much it really will have an impact. Or I'm sure it will have a huge impact. Clearly, everybody's changing their strategies to accommodate it, but is it really worth all the hype and all that sort of stuff? And it probably is, and I'm just
will it be a lasting thing about it? Stay around.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest hurdle. I mean, if I sit down and enjoy a VR experience, when I'm being demoed a VR experience, I enjoy it. But is it something that I'm going to want to shut myself in from the world every night and do my gaming that way? I don't know. I don't know that it would replace, sitting on the couch and playing Xbox with my daughter, or, those sorts of things. I don't, if we're both putting headsets on and going into a world together, but I think there's fun and value there, but I don't know that it's going to fully replace that. So kind of like you were saying, like the 3D film, but.
And I was thinking the same thing, but I don't think I represent the typical gamer. I know I don't represent the typical gamer. I'm not a hardcore gamer already, but I enjoy playing games with my kids. I enjoy, and I don't, maybe there are good opportunities for that fit my, the way I play. But there's clearly the market goes towards a more hardcore group of people, and so they're not maybe overly concerned about my, the type of players like me. But anyway, GDC was really good. I enjoyed it. I expect I'll be going again. So I think it was really, really good.
Nice. So talking about GDC and kind of what we had wanted to talk about today. And again, unfortunately, Eric's out, but the breaking out of your social seclusion bubble that we live in as freelancers. When you're at a studio, you're around other people who are generally like-minded and obviously making games and doing what you do and understanding what you do. But then, you go freelance and, you have your wife and kids or your dog or significant other hanging out and maybe just being like, yeah, that's cool. Like you have 100% validation all the time, at least. Right? You always have a fan.
There you go.
But
my wife says I'm the best artist ever.
Right? It's like, yeah, mom should always like your art. That's what I always say.
Yeah.
Mom should always like your art. So
That's right.
you at least always have mom. To your mom, you're the best artist in the world always. So
Yeah.
everyone starts with that at least.
There we go. Yeah, I think that's that was something I think a lot about, and for those good people that are hanging out and joining us for these regularly, we have clearly a freelancing theme here. The three of us are all freelancers, and so that's kind of our bent. But I don't know about you. We both have been in the studio environment for a good amount of time, and then have experienced this as well, and have chosen fairly recently for both of us, to make that change from the studio environment to a full-time freelancer. And I had freelanced in the past, not as a video game artist, but in a different area of art, and I hadn't experienced the studio environment before that time. But I think I took it for granted. I think a fair amount. I really enjoy being a freelancer. That's like number one thing I'll say up front. Like I hope to be a freelancer the rest of my life. I really love working freelance. Not to say I wouldn't enjoy working for other companies full time, but working from home and traveling and going and being part of a team, I really value the ability to be around for my family and things like that, and all the other things that are involved. But I really felt like I didn't understand or recognize the isolation that I was putting myself into when I was going freelance. And so that was kind of a little bit of a shocker at first for me. I don't know, how about for you?
Yeah, it definitely was, because I was freelance before, but then I was freelance out of necessity, and I was trying to be, get the in-house gig. And now that I had it, and then now that I'm back to freelancing, and I have some people maybe interested in me working in-house, I'm definitely not close to the idea, and I'm always I'm like we've talked about before, and people will probably notice a theme. I'm a pirate. I'm a mercenary. So I'm gonna go where the money is and what's best for me and my family. But that being said, like, I'm in the same boat. Like, if at all possible, and I can make it work at all, and so far it's working out well, I would rather stay at home, and it's simply because of that, the family and the time with the kids. Like, it's priceless to me to be there at 3:30 when my kids get off the bus in the afternoon, and just walk them home from the bus and hear about their day, instead of coming in the door tired and frustrated and griping about work, or it's just nice. I'm there all day. And like, now my kids are, we have year-round school here in North Carolina, so my kids are out, and they have 3 weeks off now starting today. And so just being around, and I'm still working, but just having them around the house and being around all of that is really rewarding, and really what life's all about for me. Yeah. And being able to be there for my wife and support what she's doing as well. But yeah, definitely going back into freelancing was a bit of like, oh yeah, I'm definitely, and it's been a little bit of adjustment. It's been an adjustment for me and for my wife, because the work stress and the work frustration doesn't go anywhere. It's always at home, right?
Mm-hmm.
When it's easy to get in the car and leave a lot of that, or at least come in the house and say, okay, I'm going to talk about what pissed me off today, and then we'll get to hanging out. When you have an in-house job, there's a clear line of separation. Yeah. But there isn't so much of that when you're working at home.
Yeah. Well, and there's additional stresses that come with being a freelancer. It's kind of an obvious thing. There's you come home from work, you can gripe about your day, and I did plenty of that when I was working at a studio. And it's funny because you at least didn't have to gripe that much about, usually your concern about your status at work, like, hopefully that wasn't a point of conversation, but there were other things. But as a freelancer, I have to be thinking about that all the time, is, where's the next gig, and so that's stressful for sure, and you can't just leave that at the office as easily. But it's interesting because I feel like, at least on that side of things, on the side of the stresses that came with working in a studio, I don't have as much working as a freelancer. I hate my bureaucracy, and like everybody does, but when you work at a studio, in a big studio that involves a whole lot of people across multiple countries and things like that, there's a whole lot of red tape, and you can't just go, this just makes more sense, let's do this. Because there's all these obstacles that are in your way of just doing some things that seem like common sense. And I may be wrong in my interpretation of how things worked when I was there, and the frustrations I had, but I don't ever have to deal with that as a freelancer. That's one thing that's really nice is, people are either paying me by the hour, or when they're paying me by the hour, there's no time to talk about, lame stuff. They've got to get their product done, taken care of. I've got to deliver something, and so I don't ever have to deal with that. They get all their ducks in a row before they call me, and I get started, and that's it. That's a nice thing. But yeah, there's other.
Well, I feel like there's a certain sense of, when you're in the studio, there's a certain sense of ownership in the product, and like you're there and you have a say, and so you're kind of obligated to fight a little bit more.
Yeah, that's true.
Because it is something that you're part of, and you do care, and it is your whole day, and this thing that you're, but when you run into those issues as a freelancer, it's like, okay, well, I'm still getting paid, so if that's what you want, this is what you got, and it's a little bit easier to just let go of things, because the next thing's coming, and I'm actually, my current freelance gig is really, really fortunate with how it's set up, because I have a lot of say, and they view us more as, the contractors still more as like, they told me straight up, there's no second rate citizens here, so you have just as much a say, and this is your piece of the pie and you own it. And so it's cool because I get feedback and everything, but it's completely been told, hey, you make the final call at the end of the day. Like, we hired you for a reason, and we're trusting you to make this. So that's a pretty cool, probably rare spot for freelance.
I think it is. Yeah,
I've never really experienced that freelancing before either. They definitely want to noodle and pick everything, but yeah, but it's just easier as a freelancer to just say, okay, this is your thing, this is what you want, you get it. And again, that being easy to work with is something we kind of talked about a bit ago, about when I was working with freelancers when I was in studio, and there were some people that were easier to work with than others, and those people from that side, as the person in the studio, I don't have time to necessarily address every single concern, or if the concerns get outrageous, we can't, so it's just easier to just say, hey, if you want work as a freelancer, you should be saying, you should be the yes man first, if at all possible. Now, if you see a huge problem with something, I've definitely raise those concerns, but and I think that's that it's a healthy balance,
Yeah.
And you kind of learn where that line is, again, with different clients too. Like, some clients will allow more input, and others will just say, no, what I want is what I get. And in those cases, don't fight. Like, just say, okay.
Yeah.
Because it makes you easy to work with, and at the end of the day, it's about getting paid, and it's about making money. So don't do anything to jeopardize that.
Sure. That's nice when you, it sounds like in your current situation, and I've had clients that I don't know if I've ever been, at least outwardly, been told that sort of thing, but I'm fortunate that, most of my clients, I think, respect my background and my experience, and trust, when I come and say, okay, I think you've given me this direction, but I think, you might want to consider this. They're usually very appreciative of the feedback and the thoughts. No, you're right, and I think that I being a part of something, you talked about that, and just as far as you care about the project and stuff, and I find it's not equal on all. In every situation, I don't always love every single freelance job I get, but there are a lot of jobs I've had where I feel invested in them, but it's still not to the same level that I had when I was working for a studio, and that's definitely something that I miss. One of the things as well that, just dealing with the contrast of what we have to go through, what we have to, or not go through, but, just comes with the territory of being a freelancer, is just the interaction with other people. My former co-workers at Redstorm, if they're ever on here listening, I really miss interacting on a daily basis, just turning around and going, hey, look at this cool thing, or I learned this, have you guys ever tried doing this, or I've got a problem, I'm not sure how to fix this, have you guys ever experienced this? We share things, there's a lot of laughing and chatting and stuff, a lot of stuff that probably slowed our productivity down a bit, but we enjoyed it. And so that's something I definitely miss a lot. Is I learned a ton from the guys that I was working around at Redstorm, and so at times I feel like I'm, I've taken the things that I've learned, and I better make do with what I've got, and then of course learning those things for myself, learning new things on my own, but I don't necessarily have that constant back and forth with other professionals, sharing their process, sharing their ideas, and riffing off of each other. And
there's not, that's the benefit of being in a studio, is being around other professionals and learning new things, and again, just that outlet of like sharing what you're working on is a huge thing.
And it's funny, I don't know if this was ever for you, but honestly, I saw the benefit for that, and this is me putting in a plug for freelancers. I saw the benefit to myself personally most. I didn't feel like necessarily the product we created as a group was necessarily any better than if I had, if say all of us were working remotely and we had been given assignments, and we maybe this is just the environment we created. We interacted on that at some point, but we were often very autonomous and just coming up with our own ideas, and then we just ran with it. Mm-hmm. And so there are a lot of times I'm a firm believer that I won't say this as a universal thing, but as a freelancer, I have to prove that I am effective and that I am worth the money. And so I feel like I'm a lot more productive as a freelancer than I was as a full-time employee, just for all the things that got in the way working in a studio. So I don't feel like I've missed, I benefited as an individual from that interaction, but I don't know if the project, like if my concepts were a whole lot better because I had guys right behind me that I could call on, because I don't know if we did that often. I don't know.
I think it's the takeaways that you get there aren't necessarily the product, like you're saying. Like, it's not like I personally walked away with things that I could use later, things that I learned from people. But again, you run into time constraints and all kinds of other silliness, and so you end up, the product isn't necessarily benefiting because of all these people working on it, because you still have to just kind of do your piece and move on. It's more the lunch conversations or the, hey, what are you doing? Oh, I do it this way. Oh, I never thought to do it that way. Yeah. And you might do something there right then and there, but in general, it's kind of probably more the benefit was even what we were personally working on at the studio. Like, hey, what are you doing? This is what I'm doing. Oh, what do you think? Oh, this is cool, man. You should do this or that, Yeah. Because we're kind of pretty locked in on our rails about what we were doing for the actual product. So, yeah, I feel like I walked away with a lot of personal benefit, and I learned a lot. But
yeah. I wonder if, I know for myself, I was always, the things that I did enjoy interacting with, I always enjoyed interacting with my coworkers, but where I felt like it really could make a difference in the assignment was sitting down and brainstorming as a group and just coming up with interesting ideas as a group. But that's the thing that was the part of some of the stuff that I was frustrated with there. There just didn't seem to be the time to do that. I would encourage that, and I know some of my other coworkers would, but it's like we couldn't. In our situation, we couldn't get the art director to sit down with us and talk with us about some of these ideas, or get the creative director, talking about stuff, high level things, and we just had this task, and it was get your task done and that sort of thing. And I don't know, I enjoyed it when we had those times to just talk, but it just didn't happen as often, and so. As a result, I think that we just kept that same isolated style as we continued just creating the concepts themselves. I'm sure other studios do it much better, and maybe we just didn't push it the way we should have, and so that was what I was missing. But that, certainly for the personal side, that's something I definitely miss a ton.
Yeah. So we can talk about a little more of the self-care aspects and stuff, but we've started answering some of those problems on our own accord now.
Yeah.
We've got a small, tight group of us, Eric included, and another artist, and so kind of what happened was I was working on developing a fake game world that is never intended to necessarily be a real game, and Andrew had one that you had created, and we were both kind of working on the same thing, and we talked about, hey, why don't we maybe band up and work on each other's kind of throwaway idea building IPs. Now, the purpose of these IPs isn't to necessarily make something grand and wonderful, but to beat artist block, right? To know what you're drawing and to create a task list and basically everything that you would literally have in a studio. This is the concept list that we need to make for this to be a game or a project. And so we both had kind of had those in two different settings and two kind of different games. And so now we're working on, basically as a team, working on the IP that you had created first.
Yeah, and we've grabbed some other people, and Eric is one, and we can say that Alex say her last name so I know how to say it.
Alex Brandwin.
Alex Brandwin.
Yep.
It's pretty obvious, but I just wanted to be sure. So, yeah, Alex Brandwin's working with us on this, and we're excited to be putting some new stuff out. Yeah, I'm gonna do a shout out a little bit to again some of the guys that I worked with at Red Storm. We had done this for a long time. There was I'll say there was a little bit of IP fatigue going on at our studio. We were working on the same type of projects for a long time, and so me and my coworkers in the concept team, we kind of at times we felt a need to challenge ourselves a little bit, and so we were doing this, and it was on like a monthly basis. We would try to give ourselves challenges. And the fun part about it that we're trying to incorporate here with our group is the idea of playing roles. Someone, back then with my coworkers, one person was the art director and the other person was the concept artist for the projects that they were working on. That, we might be working at exactly the same time, and I would be, my co-worker's art director for the stuff he was working on, and then he'd be the same for the stuff I was doing. And we decided to just kind of take on the challenge of going through that experience in a not highly intense high pressure situation, but we wanted to be challenged. And so when the art they played a role, they told us what direction they wanted us to go, and then we ran with it. We challenged ourselves to stick with that, not go, well, okay, I appreciate your thoughts on that, but I actually want to go this way. We ran with that, and I thought it was a really fun experience that we had, and so I'm really excited to be able to continue doing that with a new group. As well, anyway, that's definitely one of the things.
Yeah, and I think it's a good thing because it gives you something to keep working on, to keep bumping your personal stuff and bump the quality and level of your personal portfolio up. But it's also a good way to interact and see what other artists are doing and kind of break out of your little bubble, and so you don't get stuck in your own personal echo chamber of just like, this is what I do and this is how I do it. And so it's a way to, in a meaningful way, see what other people and other ideas that other artists are bringing to the table, and keep your own, kind of keep each other sharp. So and so
y'all are gonna see some of those things coming out over time. We've got a kind of a plan, which I think is gonna be really, really cool. Just kind of develop some cool ideas and share them out. And
this planet I'm drawing is actually related to it. So
I think it's turning out awesome. By the way, really cool. I'm not very good at this sort of. I need to do it more often. I just don't ever paint planets. And
I painted a few a while back that they were okay. But for one of my other projects I was working on, which I intend to revisit in the future at some point. But I had painted maybe 3 or 4 of them, and super inspired by the planets in the Clone Wars, of course, because the Clone Wars is the best thing ever made, and all the planets in that show are just fantastic, and they're all hand painted. So whenever they're flying up to a planet, you can see the brush strokes in them, and you can see everything, and even it's a 3D texture, but the texture is completely hand painted, and they have this really cool magical quality to them. So this one I'm actually trying to go a little away from the Star Wars idea of like a single ecosystem world, which is what Star Wars is kind of known for, and try to this world definitely has more variety. Of a theme going on, but definitely still more variety. You can see there's mostly desert, but a little bit of green.
Well, I love world building and map creation, and planet making is right at the same sort of thing. I love what you're doing up in that top right. I don't know what it is, and I'm assuming it's purposeful because it certainly does look like it.
That was a happy accident that turned into this place got smashed by a meteor at some point, and now it's like a giant ocean.
I love it. I think that's totally cool looking.
So if I can get all the lines of the planet kind of doing this number to kind of echo that, it keeps it keeps it from being bland, and it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to make a planet. It's super fun, but I don't think there's a right way to do it. But it's hard to push all that detail and think about all the things that are going on. So
I was going to throw out real quick as far as another thing that we're talking about, the stuff that we do to kind of get ourselves not so reclusive as freelancers, and collaborative stuff is a big part of that. Is a really good way, to just come up with projects, come up with things that you want to do with other people. This art lounge, we're doing it right now. Right. Is a great example. The original art lounge, Art Lounge 1.0 back in the day, for those that participated back then, that was what I had started last year, and through a different forum allowed a little bit more interaction with actual verbal communication between those that logged in. We kind of all just sat and talked and stuff, and we're still getting that kind of the spirit of that here. I knew I needed that, and I'd always been interested in opportunities to maybe share some information, and give be a resource for students possibly, or whatever. It served that role, but it definitely was a great chance to just get friends together and talk about whatever, which we do here now. And so that was a fun time. And so this is another, example of that. It's funny, we're on here online, and we're live right now, and we'll be on here for an hour or whatever. But every single week, every single time we do this, you and Eric and I, we still spend probably another hour chatting after this is over. Yep. Just hanging out and talking still about whatever. We should have like a behind the scenes. Behind the scenes. These are the things we're really talking about that you don't even know about.
We can do like a sweet heavy metal explosion, like infomercial. Never before revealed secrets of
Yes. But these sort of things are great. I hope those that are watching live now, and those that are will watch in the future, on YouTube or wherever, will want to interact with us, and will feel comfortable chatting, because that's really what this whole thing is about, is still just talking to people and sharing thoughts, and it's part of our attempts as freelancers to break that reclusiveness. And Eric here is calling it the talking lounge. I like that a lot.
That's what it is. It's the talking lounge where we talk about art.
There we go. Well, you're making art. I'm making art right now, but you just don't get to see it.
You don't get to see it. It's all secret.
It's
all the best kind of art. Yep.
There you go.
What
are some of...
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, what are some of the other things? I mean, there's a lot of stuff. I mean, we're sitting here in our workspaces, and there is complete silence unless we were doing stuff. What are the type of things you're doing in order to kind of break the isolation?
Just during the day while I'm working. So it's my wife and I actually had a conversation a couple weeks ago. Fortunately, my wife is a professional therapist, so
she's all the help you need.
She's like, you need some self-care. I'm like, what? She's like, you need to take care of yourself more, and you're there, you're grinding away, you're working, and you need to she's like, it's okay to stop, and it's okay to breathe, and it's okay. So she's kind of been a champion for me, just even during the day, just self-care. She's like, just self-care time, like taking a break in the afternoon, and for the kids get off the bus at I think 4:15 or whatever. So at 3:30 I generally will take a break, and she might be in the living room waiting for the kids to get home and reading Harry Potter or something, and so I'll go in and read a comic book in the living room, or hang out with her, or just catch up, or maybe play a half-hour Xbox or something, and maybe 10-minute little cat nap or whatever, and then go get the kids from the bus, and then when we get back, catch up with the kids, and then go back to work. But that's a nice little break right there to just kind of keep the sanity. And anytime you can pull your eyes away from the monitor And that's usually around the time where I'm finishing up what I'm doing for professional clients, around 4-ish. And then, I might have a little bit of cleanup stuff to do. And so I'll come back and look at what I did for the day for a client, and that kind of gives me those fresh eyes after an hour break. And, make tweaks or finish things up for the day. And then that's kind of my daughter has swim lessons, so my wife takes her and the kids go do gym stuff. And so then that's my kind of time to work on personal stuff. So that cool. That kind of helps, like getting that kind of break in there, because before I was just like, just grinding right through. She'd go get the kids from the bus, and I just keep going, and then they'd go to the gym, and I just keep going, and then come home, do dinner, do bedtime, and then go right back to work. And you can approach burnout really fast. And again, like doing it all by yourself, then it's like, the kids are gone all day. She's gone most of the day working, my wife is. And so I'm just here by myself, and then they go to the gym, and then they're not home till about bedtime. So there's maybe like an hour where I feel like everyone's in the house, and then kids go to bed, and then my wife's usually pretty tired, and I'm tired too, but now I got to work on, I want to work on personal stuff. So I just kind of feel like I'm sitting here grinding away all by myself, and I get, I definitely deal with, loneliness. I'm like, man, I'm in this house with all these people, but I'm just like in my corner by myself. So taking some conscious breaks helps. But during the day while I'm sitting here just working, any plethora of things. I mean, I keep up with other freelancers. I talk to Alex quite frequently. I talk with you and Eric on Facebook, or, we've even had a couple times where we've jumped in and chatted here on the voice chat the past couple weeks, and all of that helps a lot. Yeah. As far as just like keeping the sanity, I love watching TED Talks. I like watching, informational things on YouTube or filmmaking videos, stuff that's going to kind of push me. And I'm learning from it, but it's stuff that I can just listen to while I draw. And a lot of that stuff kind of brings a big sense of serenity. Like when I'm listening to a bunch of people talk about, the making of Mad Max or the making of Star Wars, then that can bring a lot of, I don't know, it just brings a lot of serenity for me, like listening to people talking about doing the things that I love doing and are right up the field of what we do. Yeah. It's informative, educational, it's motivating, but it's just kind of calming. So
yeah, I've found you were mentioning just kind of, what the word is that your wife used, but yeah, personal time or whatever. Like I have been getting in the habit of going out and playing. I play racquetball 2 or 3 times a week in the morning before I get started on everything, at a local place, and that's been a really good, interesting experience, because I actually play very poorly with a bunch of older guys and girls, retired men and women who are so much better than me. But we have a fun time, and it's given maybe the age range, the average age range. We take breaks, between each match. We'll play, and then we usually just go sit outside the court for a few minutes, and we're just chatting and hanging out. And they'd have no, they're not involved in any of the same industry stuff. These guys are all retired business people or whatever. But we have, it's great to have those conversations with just normal, I say normal meaning not people like me, just good, normal people who have, living life just like we are, but in a completely different industry. I don't know, what it's like for you. I think I'm fortunate, between my involvement in church and other things. I do interact with a lot of, most of my close friends are not artists, but I think it might be easy for some people to to only kind of hang around with the people who do the things that they do, or have very, very common interests, only, and for us artists, sometimes that's probably the dominant interest that we have is our art. But I it's nice anyway. It's nice to be able to go out and just talk about real life, that doesn't involve video games and concept design and just talk about family or not too often politics, but other just other things. We gotta watch that one. Other things that we all as just human beings have in common, and I've really enjoyed that type of stuff. That certainly is a benefit for me. It helps me not feel like the recluse that I normally am.
Yeah. So I used to be big into cycling many years ago, and I used to ride all the time in Colorado, and it was really funny because I'm talking with Amy about getting a bike again for this summer in a couple weeks, and I want to get back into cycling. So there'll be fancy Instagram pictures of me and all my sweet, sexy spandex on the internet for you all to enjoy. But
I can't wait.
It was funny because we went to a bike shop just to look at some stuff a few weeks ago, and we were actually there getting haircuts, and there was a bike shop, and I was like, hey, let's run in here, and the dude running the bike shop was the Colorado dude bro that's like all the bike shop guys that I used to hang out with, and he talks the same way that I talk and everything, and me and this guy ended up talking for like an hour, and Amy was like, yeah, you need to get out more.
Yeah.
I mean, but it's just, it's like, oh man, I don't interact with people enough. So that's kind of one of the things I'm looking at is, getting back into cycling, getting my chops back up, because I'm certainly not at any place, or if I jumped on a bike now, I could go ride with a group. But by the end of the summer, that's kind of where I think I would like to be, is able to go ride with a group of people that are into bikes. And that's just a completely different thing from art. It's going to break it out, get me exercise. It's something that I love to do. I hate going to the gym. I hate working out. I absolutely despise it. It's boring, and I feel like I'm wasting time. And
I'm always thinking, if I'm ever running, mostly when I'm running, my wife loves to run, but it's like all I'm thinking about if I'm ever running, and it's not a sport. If I'm not like chasing a soccer ball or a racquetball or whatever, all I'm thinking about is when my time is up, and it's a long. That makes exercise really long and tiresome.
Yeah, it feels like I'm on timeout. So I'm just like waiting to be ungrounded, and I absolutely hate it. And at least, cycling is the way that I trick myself into exercise, because it's one of those things that, anytime I'm riding a bike, I have a mountain bike, and anytime I ride, it's just, I enjoy it. And so I don't want to stop. And no matter how, even though I'm tired and winded and my heart rate's up, I don't want the fun to end. So I'm willing to pay the physical price to keep going fast and keep riding and keep going to, and that's the other thing, is the motion factor. The stationary bike is just the worst thing in the world to me. I hate it for all the same reasons. Or a treadmill. It's just like, I don't like, I'm a progress-oriented guy. I'm a goal guy. I don't like putting in effort and not going. I don't like not seeing the results. It really bothers me. And so I don't do it. So, with a bike, as you watch the mileage go by, as you watch the road and, the wonderful North Carolina countryside go by, it's one of those things that, definitely something that in the next couple of weeks I'm going to be.
So you're talking road biking, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Awesome. See, this is something I didn't know about you. I actually was a hardcore. I was a fairly serious road cyclist, long distance cycling in my day as well when I was much younger. But like in high school, which is fairly unusual. But that's interesting.
Yeah,
I missed that too.
I did it high school into my early 20s. I did it for quite a while. I still shave my legs.
See, you're even more committed to me.
Because once you do it, you can't undo it. So I haven't cycled in a while, but it's like, oh nope, still a prisoner to that, because you can't go through the prickly phase. So, I used to yeah, in Colorado, I used to ride up Boulder Canyon. I live, around the Boulder area, and I do 50 miles a good 3 days a week, and then, another, 20 mile, short rides, a couple days a week. So, yeah,
No,
it's just, and, I've done a little bit since then, but nothing crazy, and I need a new bike. So I think,
Yeah, there you go.
I think now's the time. North Carolina's pretty bicycle friendly, and I live out here kind of on the outskirts of Raleigh, so I live country zone, so there's just endless 2-lane country roads to.
Are you south of Raleigh?
Yes, I am.
What part?
We're out in Holly Springs, actually.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, we're like Holly Springs, Fuquay area, so.
Okay, we were in Garner, Clayton area when we lived there. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, I think that's a key thing. I hope more people, I hope that's something that people take advantage of. It's just
well, it's a dangerous thing because you talk about the health thing too, beyond just, we're talking about social, more, social, mental, being locked in, but there's a health cost to what we do.
Sure.
Sitting in a chair all day, painting away, there's a mental health cost of stressing out about what you're doing. Are you doing well? Like, it's a high stress thing. Yeah. And, creating visual images it's not an easy thing. And especially as a professional, because you have to do it right. There is no, there's no, when you're learning or when you're just drawing as a hobby, if you draw something bad, it's okay. But, as a professional, you have to do it right. And so there's always this, and there's deadlines and pressure, but then we're also just sitting in our chair, and any time away from that is guilt time, right? Like, it's just naturally, you feel like you should be doing something. You should either be pushing yourself forward personally so you get more work, or you should be working on client stuff so you get more money. And depending on how your freelance gigs are set up, you can probably work 24/7. And so it's a dangerous place to be, because anytime you get out of that, then you feel like you're being not productive. Yeah. And so we then under socialize and under exercise, and we're in our 30s, and it's definitely the time where I'm starting to feel things in my body. and my body's giving me a lot of warnings saying, you need to take care of me, and you don't want to have heart issues at 40 because I've been sitting in my chair and not moved for the past 10 years. So
yeah, I think actually we have scheduled at some point to do one of these the fitness and freelancing is what I have it tentatively called, but I think we're going to have one of these where we're just talking about why we should do it, what we do, different things. I know we've probably spilled all the beans already with what we've just been talking about, but yeah. But also, I think Eric here is talking about on the chat here about that life and work balance, and that's definitely something we're going to be talking about for sure in the coming weeks, months. We're working on a schedule for everything, but yeah, that's one of the topics for sure. It's really hard. It's hard in any career, but it's definitely hard as a freelancer when you have to take things home, or you're not easily able to just leave things at the office.
So do you find after a period of time where, I guess you get out and you do interact, pretty much every morning, but I find it kind of hard to reintegrate after I've been a recluse for a while. Like, after I've just been in my office for a week and then I get around friends or family or people, then I find myself like stumbling over my words, and it's like I've forgotten how to mouth. I've forgotten how to mouth.
Wow. Dang. You need to talk to your wife about this. You need to get on the therapy.
Probably.
Get some help on this one. No, I understand. Between, there's a lot of opportunities that I have to interact with other people. I have I have, besides just, going to church on Sunday, I have responsibilities through my church and stuff like that take place throughout the week, and my kids with their school, interacting with people there, and it just so happens I know for myself, I most of my friends are not artists, and so I don't know if there's I don't ever have a week, but Marion does give me my wife Marion gives me a hard time when I've been in the office and it's been like 2 days since I've, that's pretty rare even then, but 2 days since I've like gotten in my truck and just did an errand or something like that. But interaction with people, I try to do fairly often, but it's hard. It doesn't affect my speech that much, but my speech and my, level of communication is pretty poor on a good day. So
I wouldn't say that, but
well, that's very kind of you. Anyway, but I'm trying to think any other things that what are the other things we do to get I don't know if it certainly helps both of us have fairly active social media type of things, and that's not real life and real huge interaction. It's not as it's not perfect, but it's certainly wonderful to have the support of people who will make who chat with us through stuff. I'll have interactions with people on social media and through forums or whatever, and that's certainly very helpful and very good for me. Especially, it's very kind because the people that I'm interacting with, usually either I'm contacting someone because I think their work is awesome, and they're appreciative of that, or people are contacting me because they like something that I'm doing, and that makes me feel good too. Social media certainly can be a great way of helping to break the reclusiveness, the isolation of being a freelancer.
I don't think it's a substitute, but it can definitely help.
Well, it's tough because the two of us. Gosh, Eric is in New York. I'm in Arizona. You're in North Carolina. We couldn't be more far apart from each other, and unfortunately, social media is kind of the most convenient way for us to interact, but we do that on a regular basis. You and I and Eric are talking outside of all of this stuff most days, and then other good friends I'm chatting with most days, and it's really mostly through social media. It just seems to be the standard, but miss just a good phone call sometimes from people.
Yep. Right.
Or just sitting and talking. GDC was nice for that. I don't get to sit down with my friends and get something to eat or drink or something together and hang out. So I guess you gotta makes it that much more valuable to do attending those conferences and things.
Yeah. I think that's why there's a lot of value in those, even beyond just and I don't know what you experienced, but generally when I go to GDC, I just come back, I'm always kind of worn out by this point, and I'm, of the year, and I'm just, I've been working hard and working on my own, and then I go to GDC, and I get around other artists and other friends and catch up with people and see what other people are doing, and it always just kind of reinvigorates me. I always come back from GDC just ready to go, just ready to create art. And so I don't know what, if you experienced some of that, but it definitely is reinvigorating, just being around people and going to lunch and dinner. And
yeah, no, it's all that same stuff. We were talking about, catching up with people who are, while it's valuable, very valuable to make sure you are hanging out with people who aren't artists, and you're, seeing what the rest of the world is like. It's neat to talk shop with people who have the same passions as you in art, and So yeah, I mean, I think, I mean, we were both working on stuff on the side, but I know I came back very motivated to work on my just pure concept portfolio, and that's what sparked part of what we're doing on the side right now. So it's, at least as a group, that's I think the catalyst that sparked that. But
yeah,
no, I think that's. Anything else that we're missing? What leave comments, guys. Share your thoughts. What other stuff we can. What are we missing? What are the things we need to do to? Some other things that we can do to make sure we're not hermits in our studios. But I think some good thoughts there. Anything else we missed?
I don't know. I mean, I think that's it. I think we're just kind of generally bad at it, about socializing or getting out. I think it's easier to work.
Yeah.
It's guilt-free. And so I think there's definitely, it's something that I think has to be consciously addressed. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe some artists are definitely much more like whatever, out there, and it's easier for them to jump out and.
Well, I think it might be important to say at least my own personal opinion. It's almost like the fitness side of things. You were talking about the health risks of just not getting out and doing stuff, and I think there's, I'm not gonna over dramatize it, but there's a need for us to interact with other people and do stuff, and you just kind of, it's got to be something you do. I know for myself, it's the same as what you were talking about. There are times when I have a lot of stuff going on and I'm kind of flustered and trying to figure out what's going on. I've got personal projects I'm working on, I've got client stuff, and it's the easiest thing to just go, okay, if I just work on my client stuff, then there can't be anything wrong with that. I'm not making any mistakes if I'm trying to meet a deadline. If I start doing other things, I'm tempted to go, was my time well spent there? And certainly exercise, definitely these conferences. I go, is this really worth it, or is it not? We need to, like you said, make it purposeful.
So Bev Cruz on here says that she met a lot of people walking the dog, and the dog loves it too.
That's a good one. Yeah.
I mean, I think that's just little things like that. Like, that's something we've started doing more, is interacting with people or neighbors, and just talk. I think it's just healthy, and it's just it's hard to get. And so I have a tendency, like I said, like I just sit here and the UPS guy shows up with our weekly supply of Amazon orders, and I'm just like, what's up, dude? Do you want to come play some video games? Want some coffee? Let's chat,
Yeah.
And kind of just overwhelm and bombard him. But
well, it's funny, I think this fits. I read an article a little ways back. I can't remember the title of it, but it was basically just the idea that we're kind of losing. We don't know our neighbors like we used to in decades past. With social media and other things, we really have the ability, if we want to just only interact with the people that we want to. If we don't like someone's political or religious or social views, we don't have to interact. And people used to go out and talk to their neighbors more often, and just interact with people more often. And I think we live in a world where it's really easy for us to kind of forget doing that. When we go out, and that's one of the things I miss about North Carolina, is by default, you walk down the street and you at least wave to everybody. Mm-hmm. And I love that, but coming out here to Arizona, they're just not used to that. So we're trying to get that. And then, of course, sit and chat and talk. We'll go walk our dog, or we'll go, my wife and I'll just go on a walk in the neighborhood, and we look for, we're not looking for people, but we're, when someone comes by, it's like, yeah, why don't we talk? Why don't we say, hey, how's it going?
Yeah.
Beautiful day. But I don't think that happens as much anymore.
No, I really think people kind of are a little more secluded these days. And, I remember growing up, like, we moved into a new neighborhood and just were friends with everybody immediately. And, I mean, my parents would too, like, John and Bill out in the yard, talking over the fence with their lawnmowers. And, like, if I go out back and mow my lawn and the neighbor's out back mowing his, we kind of just, like, nod. And it's like, I don't even know that guy's name.
Yeah. I think that's kind of the default these days, I think we're missing a little bit. We're missing some cool opportunities here. Look at us. We are right here, potentially solving the world's ills through our suggestions here as freelancers. Boom.
Profound.
Well, this is good.
Playing games together. That is a good one.
That is a good one.
That's a very good one. So I didn't even. Why did I? Yeah, I got to mention my buddy Matt Kirby. So Matt, if you listen to this, congratulations. You made it on the show. You
made it.
So one of my old Army buddies that was a deep sea diver with me in the Army. We got out about the same time. He was a couple months after me. But, he's pretty much 30-year-old dude going to college now. He's finishing up his last year now. But he's a big gamer, and I'm obviously a big gamer. But he's probably the one Army buddy I've kept up with on an almost daily basis. So, and we play Hearthstone a lot. We play League of Legends. We play console a lot. But we also chat about stuff all day. And then we end up just chatting about life while we're playing. Yeah. So there's plenty of times at night, like I'll even be drawing or working, and can play Hearthstone with him, or we can, or Hearthstone has the spectator mode, so he can play and I can watch him while I'm working, and then we'll chat on Skype or on phone or whatever and just play and talk. So he's actually probably one of my biggest sources outside of the normal family channels of just like talking to another human being, and someone that we shared a lot of experiences together in the military. So our friendship probably goes back about almost 8 years now. And we keep up through games, and that's kind of a way that friends that have moved on or people in the industry, it's always a good way to keep up, is get in the games and get in a party on Xbox and chat and laugh. And my buddy Max, when he left High Res and went to Gearbox, we played Destiny every night for a good couple months. And we had a group for a while, but then for a while everyone petered out, and it was just me and Max for night after night, and it was just a giggle fest, And so it was really good. It's really good when you get on and just laugh, and you're not really talking about anything, and you're just having fun with somebody else. So good on you, Eric, for bringing that one up, because that's a good.
I'd throw out, it's not as worldwide, you can't, but in addition to video games, board games, and we get a group of, I for certain play a lot more board games than I do video games. My wife and I like board games, so we usually play, but I already interact with my wife, so that doesn't count. But we get groups of friends together and play board games a lot, many weekends, and do that sort of thing. So games are a great way, both video and /tabletop.
To that point, before I went down to Georgia, when I was freelancing up here, and before I left here, we had a group of guys together, and a couple of my buddies that work at Epic, and a couple of friends from church, and I think we had probably 6 of us together, and we'd get together at my house, and we had a Magic the Gathering night, and we played Magic the Gathering every other week, and we were pretty good. We were pretty regular. But again, just, getting a bunch of guys together and, hanging out on a Friday night till midnight or 1 and chatting and, talking about life and playing Magic and talking schmack while we beat each other. It was super fun. And we did a thing that was cool. We would do some games where we'd play, around the table where we were all playing each other. And just completely random craziness and super fun. But, we'd also then, we'd usually start the night in pairs. So we'd basically build out a bracket and pair up and play each other, and then we kind of round robin. So you then were playing one-on-one with each guy.
Okay.
And so then you got an opportunity to, like, catch up with that guy, like, kind of one-on-one. We're all sitting at the same table, but then you can play the game and you're having the conversation about the game, but then you also, like, converse about life with just that one person. So it's a good way to, like, get one-on-one and group time all in one fell swoop. So, and there's been talk of starting that up again now that I'm back, but yeah, that was a really good thing for a while. So
that's awesome.
I mean, games are something that I think games are designed to bring people together. All games. It's shared experiences, and I think that's why I love games more. Probably the biggest reason I love games as much as I do is the way that they bring people together across the world. I mean, for a while when I was playing Call of Duty or Battlefield, even when I was playing by myself, I'd run into some people and run into some guys, and we'd play a couple games of Call of Duty together, and then we'd start, they'd be like, hey, join our party, come play with us. And then, I have some of these guys that I met, complete strangers that I met on Call of Duty that I played with for years and played other games with and are on my friends list on Xbox, and we'd jump in a party, and I never met them in my life. But, we'd just jump on at night and play together and interact, and I would, became pretty good acquaintances. I don't know if you could say that it's a friend. I don't know if they would, a friend's like generally there if there's something going on, but definitely, people I was comfortable talking with and talking to, what do you do for work, or how's life, how's the wife and kids, kind of thing. Definitely got into that comfortable space. So
yeah.
And I mean, some of these guys were in the UK or Australia, so the odds of us making it and meeting are pretty slim. But
yeah,
I don't know. Yeah, it's just interesting how games bring people together, and it's a shared experience. Like, you're all experiencing something that's kind of unique to that group of players in that, especially with a multiplayer game. You're experiencing something unique together in that game, and either the win or the loss, like, you're kind of sharing in that experience together, and so you're creating an immediate relatable experience.
Totally. I think it's a great point.
So.
Well,
so play your games, kids.
There you go. And then on our fitness episode-ish thing, we'll tell you to get off of the video games and go
playing Xbox, you kids.
Go hike your mountain, kids. Yeah. Well, your planet looking fantastic.
Yeah, I got a ways to go. I got to do some. Still got to finish building the continents out here, and then I got to add a bunch of clouds, and then I got to add a nice light and shadow, and then some solar flare and some stars and maybe a spaceship coming in.
That's cool.
Yeah.
We'll reveal in the future what this planet actually is.
Yes.
Yes.
Very excited. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with how far I've made it, though, and the little bit we've been on here. So.
Yeah. Awesome. Cool. Well, awesome stuff. Thanks everybody for coming. I think unless we've missed anything,
I think that just about covers it. We are going to be doing bi-weekly regularly, which is something when we talked about restarting this up, that was something that we discussed as probably being the safest, best bet for the longevity of it, because we are all working, and it's not a huge burden to do this every week, but it definitely takes some of our time in planning and talking and sorting things out. So
sure.
For the first couple of weeks we wanted to do just weekly, but our plan was initially to go to a bi-weekly. So we are going to be doing bi-weekly going forward. So we will be back in 2 weeks. Hopefully everything is good with Eric. And we will be back in 2 weeks, and somebody will be drawing something cool. and we'll be talking about living the freestyle life some more. So,
Freestyle life?
freestyle, freelance, freestyle. Did I say freestyle?
I love to live the freestyle
we were
life
talking.
myself.
We were talking about bikes.
Yes.
We were talking about
Yes.
bikes. I'm in bike brain. See. Yes.
Freelance.
The freelance life, which is also kind of a freestyle life. Let's be honest. Let's be honest.
Yeah, I completely agree.
So.
Awesome.
All right.
Alrighty.
Well, thank you guys for checking in, and we'll see y'all in 2 weeks, or see you around as we get out and socialize more.
Awesome.
So.
All right. See ya.
All right. Cheers, all.